Evening everyone, it is Sunday the 19th of June. It's Father's Day, happy Father's Day. Although I have just uploaded one in which I say happy Father's Day, so belated happy Father's Day, because this will be going up tomorrow. So it's Father's Day, I've had a couple of cards from my kids, I've had a little Star Wars Lego figure, all very nice. So why not treat myself to a couple of what are apparently supposed to be very, very good drams indeed. So the first one I'm going to have, now these two were actually donated by a guy called Michael Bradley. I know this because I have a spreadsheet where I've got all the whiskies that I've got and who's donated them, but I can't find an email or a message on Twitter or a message on Facebook Messenger from Michael Bradley saying, this is what I'm going to send to you, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm from, so I can't put a picture on it. I think he lives in New York. I think it was a package that came from New York that was from him. But Michael, big apologies. I cannot find any contact from you to me and vice versa with sending the donations. So yeah, I'm at a complete loss. I think it's just because my emails won't go as far back on my iPod, because I've been looking this afternoon. I've got it written down, these two from Michael Bradley, and then I think there's a couple of others as well. But I can't find the contacts that we have between each other. So Michael, please get back in touch. And thank you very much for these two, because these two, apparently, doing some research on them, should be absolute crackers, and I am very, 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 very lucky to have them. So the first one I'm going to have is, you would have seen on the title, Parker's Heritage, Promise of Hope. So the bottle looks like this, and this is from the Heaven Hill Distillery, which I covered with the Elijah Craig and a few others, and I still have a few more to come. Now, Parker's Heritage, Parker is actually Parker Beam, who was the master distiller for Heaven Hill. He has essentially semi-retired. His son Craig was assumed to have taken over as master distiller, but appears to be working in a consultancy role, or at least was a couple of years ago. Parker Hill, the Heritage Collection was started in, I think, 2007, where he essentially hand-picked casks, or a single cask, or certain things where there would be releases, kind of on an annual basis, of what was considered kind of his select picks. So I think there was a single rye, there was a 10-year-old bourbon, there was a barrel-proof bourbon, there was different ages, all sorts of stuff. And he was really like, look, this year, this is what Parker thinks is absolutely fantastic. This particular one, the Parker's Promise of Hope, was the 7th release, which came out in 2013. And this particular one is quite poignant as well, because in 2013, Parker himself was diagnosed with ALS. Now, ALS is also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, and I think it was last year there was this kind of viral thing for about 3 months where every man and his dog seemed to be doing the ice bucket challenge, where people were dumping buckets of ice water over their head. Apparently it was to actually simulate the effect of having Lou Gehrig's disease, where basically everything feels frozen and it's kind of like attacking your nerves, and it's not paralysis, but it's a deterioration of like the central nervous system and things like that, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty certain that's what it was. So he was actually diagnosed with ALS himself. So the Promise of Hope, now the bottle was about $90 to $100. I think that the retail price was $90. $20 of that went to the ALS Foundation or the ALS Association, whichever one it was, sort of the main one, which is where these ice bucket challenges, the majority of them were supposed to be going to. I remember a lot of people sort of tagged onto the ice bucket thing, but were doing it for other charities, because there was a bit of a hoo-ha about, no, this is supposed to be for ALS. You want to raise something for another charity, you do your own thing. Really something stupid like trying to drink a dram of whiskey a day and reviewing them on video and stuff like that. Something dumb like that. You go and earn your own money and raise your own money that way. Don't tag along on our charity and our challenge. So basically $20 of every bottle sold of this, and there was a limited number of bottles. and I can figure that out now because I can tell you how much it raised. It's essentially, by the end of it, if of all the bottles that had been sold, it would have raised $250,000. So if we just do a quick calculation, because I never actually got how many bottles were actually made, divided by 20, 12,500 bottles of this in existence. So it's a 10-year-old bourbon, and again, when it was first released, this particular one anyway, there was a few people that were like, $90 for a 10-year-old bourbon seems a little bit steep, considering it's, like Elijah Craig is a 12-year-old and it's about $30, so, 90 quid for this. But from what I read, it is almost worth the money. And if you think about it, it's not 90, it's actually $70 because of the 20 that's going to the charity. I've just spilt some of this over my paperwork. Fantastic, that's really handy. So there we go. How the hell did I do that? Oh, that's going to make that bit of paper smell now. Never mind, could smell worse. So this is 48%. So this is a number of casks that, and essentially these are casks that could have become Elijah Craig, that could have been used for, there's another brand of Heaven Hill called Henry McKenna, which is quite highly regarded. It could have gone to, these are casks that were deemed good enough by Parker Beam himself to actually, just need to try and dry this bit of paper out, to be released as a 10-year-old. That probably would have easily lasted a lot longer and could have been, sort of like this ultra premium, mega expensive stuff. So now you can sort of tell it's 48%. It's got a nice heat to it, but there's a lovely bag of flavours in there. There's that classic Christmas cake. Now what I don't know is what the split is between corn, rye, wheat, barley, if there's anything else in there. Couldn't find that. So all we know is it's a 51% corn, that's it. But I'm willing to bet there's a fair chunk of rye in this as well, because there's a nice sort of rough is a demeaning word, but there's a rough spiciness to it which indicates rye, but it's not rough on the nose. And there's a nice chocolatiness to it as well, but it's like chocolate, fruit and nut. Yeah, there's kind of like almonds and pecans in there as well. It's a really nice nose. It's really warming. It's not particularly harsh, and it's not, quite a few sort of the higher end ryes that I've had have got like a mintiness to it, and it doesn't really have that. This is a bit warmer and a bit more rounded. Now I think I'm going to need to put some water in this, because there is quite a bit of alcohol heat to start with. Do you know what I need to do, and I meant to do, was put a picture of Parker Beam up himself. Apologies for that, I should have done it earlier. There's a really good bag of flavour in this though. Everything that's on the nose carries on into the palate. There is kind of like milk chocolate and nuts, but slightly candied nuts, kind of like candied pecans. Kind of like a pecan pie with that treacly element, but then with a sort of a milk chocolate topping over the top of it as well. There's kind of a rich fruity cakiness as well, like a really rich, really heavily fruited fruit cake. You know how you can get fruit cake where there's more cake than fruit, and others where the cake bit is literally just holding all of this bag of like raisins and sultanas together. It's that type of fruit cake I really love, like proper full-on Christmas cake. And there is almost that little bit, like Christmas cake has, proper Christmas cake should have fruit cake, then big thick wodge of marzipan all around the edge of it, and then a nice bit of icing over the top of that as well. And this actually has some of that element of the marzipan and the icing as well. But for a 10-year-old, it's fantastically well balanced. There's some absolutely brilliant flavours in there. There's longevity to it as well. The finish keeps on going. It's not particularly powerful, but it's warm and smooth, and it doesn't really tail off. It just keeps on trickling on. That's a fantastic bourbon. That is really, really good. I'm going to add some water to it because the alcohol percentage is just, for my taste, it feels like it's slightly high. It's masking more of the flavours that are in there. So I don't want to, why am I undoing it, not in the water? I don't want to over-water it. I don't want to kill it. I don't think it's going to take a lot, to be perfectly honest. He says he dumps about half a pint in there. But I think it might just need a little bit of water just to really open everything up. Now, in quite a few of my videos I've said if I don't have to, I won't add water, because in my mind, if it needs the water and it's over 40%, they should have put it in the first place. However, I can understand why they've released it at a slightly higher alcohol percentage than I'm comfortable with, because that 48%, the additional alcohol percentage does actually benefit the whiskey. I just feel like, for my personal taste, it's just slightly too high. It's just masking a little bit of the fantastic flavours that are in there. So let's give this a go. On the nose, not too different, to be honest. If anything, it's slightly more spicy. Yeah, there's a bit more cinnamon and nutmeg coming through now. Yeah, it really is nutmeg on there. Oh yeah, bags of flavour on that. There's starting to be some orange peel coming through now as well. There's orange peel and nutmeg. There's still that pecan pie. There's still that chocolate fruit and nut. But there's just this now extra added element of kind of orange. It's got even more Christmassy. Wow, that is one hell of a bourbon. To find it now, you're probably looking at paying quite a bit. I'm willing to bet they've all gone. I couldn't find it for sale anywhere online, to be perfectly honest. Not in any of the normal places that I look, either in the UK or the US. But at 90 quid, $90 when it first came out, that was 2013. I'm willing to bet that if there's any left, the price has probably gone up. $150, something like that. But to be honest, with the heritage that's behind it, pardon the pun, but with the heritage that's behind it, the thought that's gone into it and the quality of that whiskey, it's up there. It could well be worth that price. It's a lot of money to spend, don't get me wrong, but that is one of the top-notch bourbons that I've had. That is absolutely fantastic stuff, and you can sort of tell there's quality behind it. It's one of those whiskies that you just sort of sense care and quality and hard work's being put into it. So it's not just a really, really good bourbon. It's a really good bourbon made by people that know what they're doing. They've not chanced upon this. They know exactly what they're doing on this. That is phenomenal stuff. So Michael Bradley, thank you very much for VR. And I'm going to do a quick rinse out, and then hopefully the next one could be even more special. So I shall see you in the next one. Cheers.